Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial that's going to accompany week 5 of the art workshop. I'm really excited to bring this one to you today. I want to keep the introduction sort of short so we can get to the basic lessons and activities we're going to be working on. This is basic drawing again, but I'm also going to be incorporating something today that I absolutely love. It's my favorite medium, hands down, no matter what, and that's ink. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Be sure to use this and accompany with your work towards your book. Be sure to go on to theholler.org, which you're already on, hopefully, and participate. Share some of your progress. That would be really cool. I'd love to see it. All right, and now for today's activity. With the last video, this is a really cool book. This is Ed Brimley's big green drawing book. Now there's like different colors. There's red and green and blue, but anyway, Ed Brimley really does this really cool thing where he shows you all the different designs and characters that you can make out of circles, right? So this entire book, he shows you the shapes you're going to be working with, and he shows you how to add those shapes together to create the final product. Again, reinforcing the idea that we're talking about shapes here. That's mostly what we're talking about, what we're doing. So I thought it'd be kind of neat to go through one of these exercises together. And so we can actually create together one of the characters from his book, which deals completely with shapes and completely with all these different orientations of shapes, how you place them together, and the like, okay? So to keep this kind of focus in on what we're doing, we'll be doing a cat. So you can see it's a catalog. It's kind of funny, yeah, so that's how he's worded it. But what this is you start out with a circle. He shows you what you're adding. Alright, 2 lines, and he shows you where to put them. Alright, the letter C shows you where to put that. And we're basically going to follow him along. We're going to create this cat here on the side. So I'm going to place this up at the top so you can kind of still keep an eye on it. And hopefully you can see all of this in your screen as we move forward. So this is the pattern we're going to be using. Alright, talk a little bit about materials. You noticed I pulled out a brush. Brushes you can use when you're inking. When I say inking, I'm just talking about after you pencil and then you go back over and you trace over. That's really what I'm talking about, okay? Alright, so you have the brush. Other options you have is a good old Sharpie. Sharpies are great. You can use those to work with. Sharpies that can be found in just about any store you go in. I bought mine when I first started in the dollar store. In order to finish out the job, you may use a brush that has refillable ink cartridges. That's an option. Or you can go on out and do the old Ben Franklin way with a nib. Nibs are a little more difficult to use. All the old cartoonists would use nibs. I'm going to be using a nib towards the end to show you how to get these really nice lines. That's the best thing with that tool. You need a bottle of ink, of course. If you want to go all out, you could. Bottle of ink would help whenever you're using the nib. And then also, those of you who are really into drawing, I'm sure you're aware of these types of markers. I used to like these markers a lot. The Prismacolor or the Copic markers, they're really great. And if you look really close, you'll notice this says W40, right? And this is W10, okay? So you have a range of percentages, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, on and on and on. When you get to 100%, that's black. 10%, that's very, very light gray. You can't hardly even tell that it's actually a gray. It may be even probably the color of the Sharpie, and this actually shows you a little bit what it would look like on the side of the marker. These are expensive, okay? I don't buy these anymore because they're expensive. Well, I have found that if I buy one of these brushes, which is called an aqua brush, okay, it's just full of water. It's made by Pentel. It costs about $4. If you buy one of these and a bottle of ink, you can create any variation of these shades of Prismacolor markers, believe it or not. You can do anything you want because the more water you add, the lighter it is. The less water you add to the ink, the darker it is. You can actually fill these up even with a little bit of ink. So you fill it up with water, put a dab of ink in it, and then you have a Copic marker that you can refill. Is it as smooth and nice? Maybe not, but still, if you want to save money, and I'm always up for that, and that's what you need to do. Alright, so of course you need an eraser, and I've got a little bit of water in this little a mixture container, and a little bit of ink too. I'm going to use that later to show you what I mean by the shading. So let's start out using the Marvel method here, and we're going to do the cat. Move my supplies up a little bit further so you can see. Now you notice I'm not using a tip. This looks like a pen, but it's not, okay? These are those woodless pencils I talked to you about earlier. Use a pencil. This is a pencil. No different. The only thing that this has, this doesn't have that a pencil has, is wood around it. Notice the 2B. I talked about that. There's a range. It goes from B, and then you have on to H. H is lighter, B is darker. The number beside of the B indicates just how dark it is. If it's a 4B, that's darker than a 2B, and so on. Alright? So the first shape we're going to follow along with Ed here. He has a circle. So we're going to do a circle. Okay? Doesn't really matter where you put it. You want to look at the end result. Keep that in mind while you're drawing, so it gives you an idea. If I made this circle really tiny on the page, let's say like this right here, then of course, you know, that's not going to show up as well, right? So pretty big circle. The next thing he tells us is add 2 lines to that circle. Okay, 2 lines right there on each side. So far so good. 2 lines. Then he says add this letter C shape at the bottom. We can do that. Letter C shape at the bottom. Curve it out. Cap it off, as I say. Alright, looks like he's got now this shape here. Coming down from the tail, you got 2 C's right there. So we're going to go ahead and put that on. So it's got this shape that comes down and stops, down and stops, and then you add that little C and cap that off. Next thing he says to do is to we cap that off there, and now we're making these 4 lines going up the body. Now I can look down here and cheat a little bit. I can see that's the legs. These 4 lines we're going to remake are the legs. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, just like he did it. Next thing I'm going to do is add these little toes, right? It looks like a series of upside down letter E's. It looks like he has 3 toes per foot. So, and then he's also added some back feet. Notice that? He's wanting you to put the toes on the lines you drew, plus look, he's added 2 more. So there's a total of 4, right? So let's start off with this one first. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Excellent, right? Alright, so now look at this. We're getting ready to put eyes on our character. And it's 2 circles towards the top. So we'll put 1 here and 1 here. 2 circles. He's also drawn these little line going through the circles towards the bottom. So here and here. Alright, cool. So you can see how this is starting to look a little bit like our end result. Alright? Next thing we're going to do, take a look at what he did. He's added a triangle and he's added an upside down E, right? So let's do that too. Now look where the placement is on here. It's about right here on his drawing, so we're going to do the same thing. There's our little triangle right here, and then we're going to add our letter E below it, right here, just like this, on each side. So you can see how that works, right? Now he's added a series of lines, and he shows you down here exactly what he's done. Okay, he's adding these lines up here plus these. Okay, so we're going to follow along with him. Adding a line here, 2 lines like he did, plus our whiskers. So 1, 2, 3 whiskers here, 1, 2, 3 whiskers there. I apologize for the shading in here for the lighting. I'm working on getting a better lighting system, so just please bear with me, okay? Now look what he's added. Triangles plus these 2 hashes towards the top. So these are the ears, and that makes up the inside of the ear. We could do that. We add 1 here, right? Add another here, down. And then look, he's added these lines in there, so we're going to do the same thing here and here, right? Okay, we're going to keep going now. This is where he adds the markings on the cat. He's added all these triangles down the sides of the cat. So we could do that. 1, I guess it doesn't really matter how many we add, but we'll follow along with what he did and put 3 on each side. Make one a little bit longer than the other. Add some variation to it if you're following along with me, right? Okay, look what the next thing we're going to do. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to add some lines going down the legs and down the tail, and it looks like around the head. He added that on this part, but we'll finish ours out on this side. Okay, so there's that. There's another here. And he's got the lines for the feet. Now look at this. He's making this entire character using some simple lines. Now the one thing I did different on his, he didn't curve his is straight lines, but mine are a little bit curved, okay? Alright, so now it looks like the only thing we're left to do is to color in. When you see this shape in his books, that means color in. And let's go ahead and add the pupils on here. Right? So there's our pupils. So we have a cat. That's our cat. Does it look exactly like Ed's cat? No, but it's our cat. So let's go ahead now and color that in. Now I told you earlier that I was going to be using a nib pen, right? And that's what I'm going to do. I have this all penciled out. It's ready to go. You can use a ink pen at home, whatever you want, whatever you have. Alright, for the purpose of this is how this nib pen works. You can see how it makes a line. Really thin line, or you can push down harder and make a very thick line. It's up to you about how thick your line will be. Okay, you can see how the variation works on that. It has a very good variation of line. As a cartoonist, you want this. Okay, so I may go ahead and start now. I'll put a line coming down the nose to connect with this part with the triangle. Some lines I want to keep the same size or the same width. Here I might want to go a little bit thicker around the mouth part. The one thing about using these pens though, you have to keep on getting your ink out. So I have my ink bottle here and I keep using that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, besides getting ink on my hand, is draw the circles for the eyes. Here's the circle here, and here's the circle there. Yeah, I'm working on getting a better system to record these videos. Thank you for bearing with me. It's a work in progress, but eventually we'll get there. Right? So now we have that inked in, and so far so good. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put the pupils in there. Got that in. Okay, now look, we're going to go for the ears now. I'm going to go up above the head, down. Notice I made that line a little thicker. Up and down. Each side like that. Right? Get a little bit more ink loaded up here. Notice how Ed is actually, he's outlined everything. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come down. I may have done that a little differently maybe if I was drawing this for myself and creating something for myself, but we're going to follow along with what the artist asked us to do. Okay? That line's a little crooked. I apologize for that. Drawing from the side here a little bit. Down. Looks like I need more ink. It might help if I could see. There we go. And now you're just basically tracing over your work. Okay, that's what you're doing. You're tracing over your work. Alright? And you're going to trace over your work because at the end you're going to erase all of this pencil line like we've talked about so many different times. Erasing that pencil line. There's the little toes. Where's the legs? I'm keeping this really simple. I'm not trying to make this an amazing rendition of a cat. I'm keeping it really simple, really loose with my lines. What that means is I'm not trying to be precise on every little thing. Okay? I'm just having fun with it, and that's what you should do. Alright, that's pretty cool. I like how that's turning out. Alright, let's go ahead and load up a little bit more ink, and what we'll do is we'll finish out these lines that he's asked us to put on the cat, as well as the triangles. Notice how I'm just having fun with it. I'm not trying to be, precise or have something that would be something that, I would probably try to put in a book unless I was going for this style. Alright, the really loose style of art. That is a style that you see sometimes in picture books. You see it sometimes in chapter books. Any type of illustrated work. You may have a very loose style. It's up to you. Okay? If I was going for something different, this might be a sketch of a character that I'm working on that I want to try to figure out different ways to draw that character, so on and so forth. Alright, we're about finished with this portion. There we go. He's got his whiskers. Now, Ed also asked us to color this in, right? So that's what we're going to do next. And we're going to grab our brush pen and we're going to color in all of the areas that you see that he's colored in black. I hope the shadow doesn't take away too much from this, but you can see how I'm going about it. Now I'm not worrying about coloring over his whisker. Alright, see how the black sort of conceals some of that whisker? If you wanted to, you could take some Pro White or some white out, okay? And you could go back and, include that line to be white going through the whisker like that. You can see how I'm coloring everything in, getting it to look nice and solid. That's a really important thing whenever you're coloring is to make sure your shapes are solid. Okay, you may do a little bit on the tips of the ears here, like that. His eyes, course, we're going to make those solid. Okay, let's go ahead and include the triangles a little bit more. Notice that I'm having fun with it. I'm not trying to do anything, like I said, too polished as we call it. It's just having some fun, showing you how to create these boxed in shapes, okay, and showing you how to put different shapes together that's going to end up creating whatever it is you're wanting to create. Everything is broken down into shapes, if you notice that. If you anything that you look at, I want you to go onto Google and search for other channels that have on YouTube that have a really good example of this, how to use the marble method or the circle method to get the shapes you want, right? So I guess we'll go ahead and color in his tail, since the rest of his body's nice and solid and shaped, colored in, I mean, the shapes are. So I may just do that one and this one, and then we should have a finished character here, right? So looks like it's going pretty good. Yeah, it could be a lot more polished, as we say, but hey, look, there's a cat. And the shapes that we used, I always think this is fun. Here's the shapes we're going to use. We used for this. Ready? We used a circle, right? Okay. We used a box shape, a marshmallow type shape. This was the body. Okay. We used two straight lines here. These little lines, shapes for the feet. Okay. And we reproduced that a few times. We had the triangle for the nose, circle, mouth, so on and so forth. So really, what we've done here, when attached to the body with the toes, you can see how all these things come together here to create whatever it is we're looking to create, right? And that's what really the point of all this is to show you that you could do this. These complex drawings that you see that you wonder, how in the world is that done? It's done by simple shapes arranged in different ways, okay? So don't get overwhelmed. Don't look at the, if you're trying to learn how to, put together some sketches for your characters, don't get overwhelmed by trying to draw precise and, Disney type, Pixar type drawings. Have fun with it, right? So, like, for instance, if I'm sketching out for a character, okay? If I'm going to sketch out for a character, I'm going to have fun with it. I usually always start out just by having a loose circle like this, something loose, right? Okay, from here, I may add another circle on there. Now, I know what I'm trying to go for in my head. In my head, let's say I'm going to do some sort of a creature, okay? And what if that creature turns out to be, a dog, right? So I add these shapes together until I have something that resembles what it is I'm looking to create, right? So in this instance, it's going to be a dog. Okay. All right. So we have these shapes together, and I play around with it. So you see how I started out with a couple basic shapes, and that's led me into this. So if I went now, and let's say I'm going to trace over it with my Sharpie here, and I can erase all these lines afterwards, I can see whatever it is I'm wanting to draw or intended to draw a little bit better, right? And that's the whole point, is taking something and keep refining it until you're happy with it. I could probably sketch this dog out 100 more times, but for the purpose of this video, we'll keep it to just once. And you can see here, I'm not using too many complex shapes. I use two circles practically to get the start to doing this. And then at the end, I have this dog. Now, real fast before we end, I want to show you how I use the water brush. So I get a little bit of water, right? A little bit of ink. Okay. And what I'll do is, I may shade, and this is what I mean by using the ink. I'll show you on camera what I've done. A little bit of water. Okay, a little bit of ink, just like that. Alright, you could test it out on the side to see how dark it is, and you can start to play around with this water pens and seeing what it is that you want to do, okay? What sort of shadows you're looking for. And you never know, it may surprise you what you come up with. That's always the fun thing about this, is that you may start out with a very light color, and then you may go really, really dark. Okay, have fun with these things. Don't get too overwhelmed by them. Don't get too tied up in the details, as they say, right? Have fun creating. That's the whole part of this workshop, is not trying to get stressed out and trying to worry about, well, what is everybody going to think of my work? No, it's about having fun, you know? It's about doing the best you can, creating characters that you would like to see in a book yourself, coming as close to that as you can, okay? And having fun and learning what all it takes to put a book together, you know? Those sorts of things, right? So if you have fun doing this, this is something you could do as a profession one day. There's no reason why you couldn't. So I hope you've enjoyed today's workshop. Hope you've learned a little bit about how the process of drawing, using these basic shapes again. Play around with stuff. You should be able to find a brush laying around, grab some water, get an ink pen. You can even, if you wanted to, you know, use that Sharpie and just try to come up with different shading methods. Now there's a cross-hatching method that works similar to this right here, okay? And what cross-hatching means is that you'll go in one direction with a line and then you go back, and in the places it's supposed to be darkened in more than others, okay, you cross-hatch. That means that you cross over the lines with another line to give shadow. Alright, so there's different ways to do this and go about it. I wish I had more time to show you all of them, but I want to get you started in the right direction, at least. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Those of you who are tuning in on YouTube and you're checking these videos out and you're wondering what is this all about, I want to kind of explain that. The videos are in company to an 8-week program sponsored by the Kentucky Valley Educational Co-op. So students from can participate in schools in 17 counties, and every Monday we go to a different school in a different county in Kentucky and we present the workshop. The workshop combines creative writing and the visual arts with the end goal of publishing 30 students' works that make up the KVEC region. 6 of those students are going to go on then to participate in an entrepreneurial project where they'll actually create a business plan, a small pro forma for their business, as well as learning how to establish themselves as independent young creators and publishers. This is a huge need that we have in our region of Kentucky, so that's what this video is about. Go on to theholler.org if you're interested in learning more about the art workshop or even bringing it to your school. We're open to come out and I can conduct visits and put on and present a workshop there with your any grade level pretty much. So it differs, of course, with each grade level what we're doing. So that's what this is about. So all of you who are participating this time, I really appreciate you tuning in to this and checking it out on theholler.org and looking at the material and resources available for you that's going to help you create your work. We are in week 5 of 8 weeks, so that means we're drawing past the midway point, heading towards the home stretch. So I'm really excited about the possibilities. Today we were visiting in Breathitt High School, so that was a great visit. Had a great time seeing the students work, Andrew Turner and a bunch of others. Jessica's work, I forgot her last name, but she always amazes me. I apologize for forgetting her last name, but it escapes me at the moment, but you know who you are if you're watching the video, so thank you so much. Just such talented kids there at Breathitt. So thank you for, again, I've thanked you 100 times, but it means a lot, you know, that you're actually participating and enjoying this and looking forward to seeing what could come. So please be sure to continue to share your work. I want to see your progress, and I look forward to seeing what everyone creates. I will say this about the videos. They are somewhat short, I know, but I do want to, in each video, talk about the materials, not just, you know, the artwork. Me as a young artist, I love to see what tools artists use to create their work. And I don't think that's shared enough, really, especially for young artists. So thank you so much for checking out the video for a 15th time, but I do appreciate it, okay? All right, thanks everybody, and I'll see you next Monday. We'll be at Pikeville High School. Bye.